Alrighty, welcome back into another episode of Getting Technical, brought to you by Better and Green. I am Ethan. With me, as always, is Wyatt. 4 games to talk about tonight. Getting into some pretty good, decent college hoops action. Wyatt, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. Excited to talk about these games. Good thing we didn't have a show yesterday because actually I did okay, but my biggest play was Miami, Florida to cover last night against Kentucky, and they went up by like 10, and then we're down at 1 at half, and then absolutely fell apart in the second half. They ended up losing by like 20, 25 points. So glad I didn't give that play out, but I am a little bit more confident about today's games. I already have one play locked in. I will probably lock in one right after we get off here. But yeah, I like these 4 games we picked out. And yeah, as you said, football is winding down. Big college basketball games. I think we have conference play starting. Um, Michigan plays Iowa on the 5th of December. So conference play is starting next week. So we're going to get some pretty good matchups coming up.
Yeah, I would have taken Kentucky yesterday. I was kind of kicking myself for not doing so. I passed that game. I did take some huge spreads yesterday. I took Texas Southern plus 32 against Purdue. Ended up getting the push, which at first I was kind of upset. Purdue was only up 28 with a minute and a half left. And, at that point, it's all the backups. I just thought they'd dribble out the clock, throw up a bad shot, give up some easy layups. They end up covering, or they end up pushing the 32. But Purdue was also at 40 with like 5.5 left. So I'm in no place to complain over a push right now. I've been losing my ass for the last week. So I'll take it. And then I had Eastern Illinois plus 39 against Kansas. Kansas only won by 8, so that was a nice little no
Wow.
sweater yesterday. Yeah, I think they only led by like, I don't know, 18 maybe was their highest lead. So yeah, nice no sweater there. But today we have some more competitive matchups than what I was on yesterday. We're gonna be talking Tennessee against North Carolina. I believe that's 10 versus 17. A&M versus Virginia. A&M's 14th. Virginia unranked, but always a good basketball team. Probably right below that top 25. We have Colorado against Colorado State, who is currently ranked 20th. Colorado was ranked to start the year. They've fallen out of the rankings, but again, right near the top. And then number 7 Duke against unranked Arkansas. Same thing with Arkansas, ranked to start the year, fallen off with a couple of losses, but it still should be a good matchup there. So we'll start with Tennessee UNC. I will throw it to you first. It looks like UNC is about a 2-point favorite, depending on where you're looking. What do you like in this game?
Yeah, so I really want to take Tennessee. I just don't think I can. Tennessee, they lost to 2 really tough games. Lost to Kansas and lost to Purdue. I believe that was last week, maybe close to 10 days ago. And Tennessee's a top team. We all know it. They're number 10 right now because, again, they lost to the number 1 team and the number 3 team, I think Purdue was at the time, or number 2. So 2 decent losses. I'm not going to discredit them, but they just can't play. It just doesn't look like they can compete with these top teams right now. In North Carolina, ever since that national championship run, I think 2 years ago, they were terrible last year. I was fading them majority of the time last year. However, I think North Carolina's kind of back. They have 1 loss. It was to overtime against Villanova. I think Villanova is actually a pretty solid team this year. I might take a future on them, honestly, to win the Big East. I really like what I'm seeing out of Villanova. But anyways, I just think it's at North Carolina, I believe, and I just think North Carolina's a better team, straight up. So I'm going to take them at the -2. I really like the under in this game. It's at 145. I'm seeing Tennessee, just a defensive powerhouse. They're number 1 on adjusted defensive efficiency right now on KenPom. North Carolina obviously scoring like 86 points a game, so they're pretty high scoring. But I do think this is going to be a pretty low scoring back and forth game where North Carolina ultimately wins it. But I think this could be like end in the 60s for both teams.
Yeah, definitely don't hate that total there. Especially Tennessee coming back from Hawaii. I think they could be struggling to adjust a little bit, and I think that hurts their offense. Kind of like you, I want to take Tennessee really bad, but I think I've decided with UNC here. My main reason is because Tennessee is coming off of that trip to Hawaii, which is my main reason for why I faded Purdue and Kansas last week. Obviously, Purdue, Kansas, and Tennessee all in that tournament. It's 3, maybe the top 3 teams in the country, honestly. Tennessee did lose to both those teams, so it is hard for me to see them losing 3 straight here. But I just think the spot kind of favors UNC. I just think it's tough for Tennessee to come back after those two tough losses where, they put in a big effort playing games back to back. Even though they have had a week off, I actually do think Tennessee is the better team ultimately here, but I agree with you. UNC is way better than what they were last year. I think they kind of came into last season thinking they were just the greatest team and got caught being really cocky all year long. Um, but yeah, and this is kind of just goes with our weird line. The underdog in the rankings is favored here. At home, UNC a great home court advantage. So yeah, I do like UNC minus the 2. I would look at the under as well with you because, like I said, I think Tennessee could struggle making baskets early in this one as they adjust from their trip back from Hawaii. Our next game we'll look at Texas A&M, 14th ranked against unranked Virginia. Virginia, a 3-point favorite, over under 124.5. I'll start with this one. Very hard not to look at the under here. Virginia is the same Virginia team they've been for, God, I don't know how long. Can't score. Great defense. I think they're second in scoring defense this season, and Texas A&M, I believe, is 14th in scoring defense, so 2 top 15 defenses. I honestly think 124.5 is kind of high. I was expecting this to be around 119. So I'm looking at the under here, and then I lean Virginia. Same thing, just the unranked team favored at home. They have a big home court advantage as well. My fear is I faded Texas A&M against Iowa State on Sunday or Saturday, whenever they played. It was at Iowa State. Iowa State was up 19, ended up blowing that lead, losing outright. So that's my fear. I mean, Texas A&M does score way more points than Virginia, but I'm just going to trust Virginia's defense here. Even though they are both top defenses, I do think Virginia's is still better. Statistically, they are a little bit better, but I think on the court, I think it's going to be the biggest difference tonight. So I think Virginia wins in a low-scoring, ugly game. I think they cover the -3. That might be my favorite bet on the card tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you said it in the North Carolina game. You beat me to it. Lower, I guess, how you ever like a 17th ranked team being the favorite against a 10 ranked team in Tennessee. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I understand home court advantage, but then we have the same thing in this game. We have an unranked Virginia at home, I believe, and then they are the 3-point favorite against a 14 ranked team. I think a lot of novice bettors are just going to see strictly the rankings and just say, hey, there's a 14th ranked team. There are +3 against an unranked team. That's free money. And I kind of fell for it yesterday. As I just said, I took Miami. They were the 8th or 7th or 8th against Kentucky, who was like 14. So I kind of fell for it. I just didn't really believe in Kentucky. I do now. But I agree. I think Virginia is my favorite play of this slate. I actually did lock that in. That's the one bet I did take. Virginia -3. We've had a lot of success. We talk about it a lot, but this strategy that we have, the unranked or lower ranked team being the favorite, is you always got to do it in college basketball. I agree with you. The over seems kind of high. I actually also locked in the over of this at 125. That's just way too high. As you said, I thought this was going to be in the 120s. Texas A&M, notorious for defense, great defensive program, and then Virginia lost. Their only loss was to Wisconsin. Virginia scored 41 points. It was 64-41. So I mean, Virginia, they win games 60-59. That's just all they do. You look at every Virginia game, they barely break 100. So I saw 125 earlier. It's dropped down a little bit, which scares me. But I saw that just seemed high for two really good defensive teams and a Virginia team that doesn't score. So I took it. I took a risk on the over. But yeah, favorite play in that game is unranked Virginia as a 3-point favorite. And I'm going to take them against A&M.
That's ballsy to take the over in a Virginia game, but I commend you for it. I hope it gets there because eek. Before we move on, I meant to say this when we were talking about UNC, so I just want to circle back quick. Their game on Saturday against Florida State, I think, is a huge sandwich spot. I would recommend everyone looking at Florida State. Obviously, the lines aren't out right now, so it's tough to tell what that's going to be, but UNC is going to be sandwiched in between the games against Villanova, where you mentioned they lost in overtime, a win against 20th ranked Arkansas time, this Tennessee matchup tonight, and then after the Florida State game Saturday, they're playing 4th ranked UConn, 12th ranked Kentucky, 25th ranked Oklahoma. So tough stretch for UNC on the front end and the back end of Florida State. So might get caught by Florida State. They're probably going to be somewhere 10-point underdog. at North Carolina. So I'll
I'll
keep an eye out.
I'll buzz in real quick. I haven't watched a single Florida State game. I remember them last year, them and Louisville. They were miserable. Is Florida State still pretty bad this year?
Um, Honestly, I'm not sure. Let me check. Four
Okay.
and one.
Oh,
Tough to
okay.
tell though. They've beaten well, they've lost to Florida. They beat Kennesaw State, Central Michigan, UNLV, and they did win at 18th ranked Colorado. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, I
Okay.
forgot they were completely miserable last year.
Yeah, them and Louisville.
Oh, no.
Louisville's already bad again. They lost their opener to some no name. So, but I remember those two teams were pretty much they're like the San Jose Sharks of college basketball. It's fade them every week. But
Right.
yeah, I like that spot next or this weekend.
All right, our next game we're talking about is going to be that Colorado team that Florida State had allegedly beat, and Colorado State ranked 20th. This was a big college football matchup earlier this year as Colorado State handed Dion his first loss as a head coach. Basketball obviously a little different. Kind of nice to see Colorado State in the rankings, even though they have been pretty decent the last few years. But it looks like Colorado State is a home 2.5 point favorite here against unranked Colorado. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I guess I really haven't been paying attention to Colorado. I make fun of the Mountain West every single year, or sorry, Colorado State. Colorado State is in that conference. Kind of you only hear about San Diego State. I guess Colorado State sometimes brought up. I just don't really hear about them. So the fact that they're 20th, I guess that's pretty good. They just have a massive win over Creighton. I think they won by double digits against Creighton as their most recent game. And then Colorado, as you said, starting the season off ranked. They're a solid team. Lost to Florida State in overtime. Huge rivalry game. I'm going to go with Colorado State. I'm going to have them get the revenge. They lost in overtime to football. I think they're going to win it at home in basketball. Big rivalry game. I just think they're the better team. This this total is way too high. It's 148. I really think the under is pretty obvious in this, but I'm going to stay away. I mean, that Colorado State Creighton game, I think it was similar to that Virginia Wisconsin game. I think it was like 60 to 50. It was barely any points were scored. So I would lean the under, but I'm not going to take it because that's fishy. But do you think Colorado State pulls it off at home? I wouldn't be surprised if this is a low scoring but very back and forth game that comes down to the wire.
Yeah, before I get into the basketball, I did misspeak. You just reminded me. Colorado State did not beat Colorado this year. It was a loss in overtime, but covered the spread with ease, took them down to
Yes.
the wire. So thanks for reminding me of that. Um, I'm going to look for Colorado in this game. I think they beat Colorado State. I just think it's a bad spot for Colorado State and kind of a buy low on Colorado. Like we just mentioned, Colorado's only lost Florida State. That knocked them out of the rankings. So I have to believe they're just hanging around 26th, 27th, somewhere in there. So this is going to be a really close matchup. Colorado State, this is mainly a fade on them just off that Creighton win, as you mentioned, just dominated Creighton. Just think this could be a flat spot for them. So, uh, yeah, I haven't watched Colorado State play this season yet. I have not watched Colorado play this season. So I really don't have much statistical um, knowledge to back this up or any eye test or anything. It's more so I think just could be a flat spot for Colorado State. And spot betting has gotten me pretty far this far, so I do like Colorado quite a bit. It's probably my second favorite bet, second to Virginia.
I like it.
And then our last game tonight, the nightcap, 9:15 Eastern start here. Duke at Arkansas. Again, Duke kind of rolling like they always do, 7th ranked. Arkansas was one of the top teams coming in to the season. They're just disappointing 4-3. I actually have futures on Arkansas to win the whole championship, so a little disappointed with their start. They are now unranked. I can't remember where they started this year, 15th or somewhere in there. We're seeing Arkansas a 4.5 point home dog here against Duke, who is 5-1. I'll let you start with this one.
Yeah, I mean, Arkansas was loaded last year. I think they had 2 top 10 draft picks. I forget their names, but absolutely loaded. And they just never really lived up to the hype. And I'm sorry they have a future on them, but I just don't think they're going to live up to the hype again. I don't think they're going to do it in this game either. They have 3 losses out of their last 4 games. They lost to North Carolina, Memphis, and UNCG. I think that's University of some small school. No idea. And then they also, in that one game in that 4-game stretch, they beat Stanford in overtime. So not the greatest of resumes so far for Arkansas. I think they're going to have their hands full. Duke, as I said, only loss is to Arizona. Duke's rolling, number 7th in the country, definitely a national championship contender. And I don't know. I think Arkansas's squad this year is worse than it was last year, and last year they failed to perform. So I'm going to go with Duke pretty heavily. Probably my second favorite behind that Virginia bet. I think Duke covers. I think Duke could win by double digits.
Yeah, I think this is a huge game for Arkansas. It's going to really show what their season is going to ultimately boil down to. I'm going to lean Duke as well. Typically, this is a spot that would scream Arkansas to me. Still a good team at home, catching a few points. But yeah, like you said, their losses have just been underwhelming. UNC Greensboro, I believe, is what that G is there. Not a good loss whatsoever. The spot for Duke is, I mean, perfect. They aren't off any big games. They don't have many big games ahead on their schedule. So this is a focus spot, I think, for Duke. I think we're going to get a max effort from Arkansas, though, just because I do think this really determines the path their season's going to take. But like you said, I think Duke is just ultimately the better team. I think Arkansas might have had higher expectations coming in. I fell for it. I thought they were going to be way better off the bat than what they are. And I think Duke just kind of has their way with them. So I'm not going to bet this game. This is one I'll probably just watch, kind of get a better feel on Arkansas. I've watched a few Duke games, feel like I have a decent feel on them, but need to really see where Arkansas is at this point in the season. But I do think Duke covers here. Other than that, I mean, do you have any other plays that you want to quick touch on, or?
No, that's all I have in the college basketball. I will tweet these out, tweet more of them out later, because I do have a couple more plays I'll have on these 4 games. But yeah, that's all I got. I might have a couple others. I'm kind of waiting for another guy I follow pretty religiously on Twitter in college basketball. He hasn't posted yet today, so kind of waiting for that. But yeah, I honestly like these 4 games. They're going to be exciting to watch. I think there's money to be made. But yeah, college basketball, again, we talk about it all the time. It's ramping up. So start doing your research, start looking at these ranked teams and trying to figure out who's actually good this year.
Yeah. I don't have much more on the college basketball front either. I am looking at potentially betting St. Joseph's plus 12 against Villanova. Again, just fading Villanova off the long tournament style play and some of their big wins, but not sure if I can get to the window because, like you said, I think Villanova is actually a really good team this year. But yeah, guys, other than that, just keep checking in with Better and Green. We do have our NFL video coming out tomorrow, Intentional Lounging, off a pretty rough week. At least I know myself. Wyatt, I think you had a somewhat tough week as well.
Yep.
Ben did decent, but overall, not our greatest week. College football is winding down, but we should have another college football video coming out Friday to talk about conference championship week. And then just check out betterandgreen.com or bettergreen.com. We have articles coming out constantly. We have a lot of premium articles coming out right now. It's only $1 a month. So become a premium member with us. You get all of our premium articles, all of our premium offers. That space is really growing right now for us. And other than that, we'll keep coming out with college basketball content as the games ramp up. But thanks as always for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.
You better start listening to the Better and Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome to Better and Green, eh? To Better and Green, eh? To Better and Green, eh? Listen in and cash out. That's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover all spot from the bottom to the top. Hey, shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome to our podcast, Better and Green.